Hi there, it's Bruce Wallace here from Dundee and Victoria Chess Club, and this is my first attempt to do an annotated game for the internet. And it's not a particularly great game, it's a game that I actually lost, but I think you can learn from defeats as much as you can learn from victories. And this game was played on the 20th of October 2007 in the major tournament of the Dundee and Angus Chess Congress, which was held once again very successfully this year. And it's against Angus McDonald from Bonaccord Chess Club, who's rated 1500 in odds, and I'm about 1330, so he's got a good 150 points advantage. So we're going to have to move fairly quickly through this because we only have 10 minutes. So I kicked off with e4, and Angus played e6 to French defence. I played d4 here, and now d5, all standard stuff, and then knight d2. Now this is the Tarrasch variation, which I've been working on, and although it appears fairly restrained, I think that it gives white dynamic chances, and not a lot of French players know it, so it's worth trying. Now here Angus played c5 and I took on d5. Now I was expecting Angus to take back e takes d here, or queen takes the pawn, but instead he took this pawn because it was en prise and unprotected. However, I don't think it's the best capture because it allows me rapid development. Knight gf3 attacking the pawn. Now queen takes a pawn, which immediately allows bishop c4 check, and the queen must move. The queen went to c5, which is the best move as recommended by my analytical assistant, and I also played the best recommended move, queen e2, and you will see now that the bishop eyes e6 as does the queen, and also the queen is hitting the king x-ray style through that pawn. So I think Black has to be very careful here, and I think he can immediately feel some of the pressure building up. So he develops a piece. And I hit the queen again. Knight e4 could have been played here attacking the queen and possibly more dynamic. However, the queen must move, and now this allows me to castle. And if we look at development here, I have developed 3 minor pieces and the queen, plus I have castled. Black has only developed a queen and 1 piece, and neither his kingside minor pieces nor his c8 bishop, which is usually the problem child in the French defence, have developed. So I've got a good development advantage here. Can I utilise it? So he develops the bishop onto a useful diagonal, eyeing h2, and I play rook d1. Now the d-pawn cannot be held. The d-pawn is falling here. So Black uses the opportunity to develop his knight, and the knight takes. A pair of knights come off, and I think Black was going to castle, which was what I was expecting, but instead of castling, he plays a6. Now, I initially thought this was to stop moves like bishop b5 check or knight b5 hitting the bishop with both knight and rook, but it may be preparing later on when the queen moves b5, perhaps attacking the bishop and allowing the c8 bishop to develop on the long diagonal towards g2. So I moved the bishop back, which was a multi-purpose move. It defends all the pawns on the queen side and also allows the bishop to come out without the b-pawn being threatened by the queen, and also takes the bishop out of the view of any immediate attacks. So finally Black castles and must be feeling quite relieved to be out the firing line, and I play bishop e3, which I'm not impressed with. It's far too obvious, threatening a discovered attack on the queen, because the queen just moves to c7, which has set up a battery against h2, threatening to take the pawn with check. Now, the analytical assistant suggested here queen h5, which again makes the black king begin to sweat, but however I didn't play that move. I played knight f3, which isn't that innocuous, and there is a purpose behind it, but it does allow knight to play Black to play knight f5, which hits the bishop on e3, and I don't think this bishop can be held. If it goes back to d2, it's very passive, and moves like g5 in fact would lose a pawn if you want to try and work out that variation. So I don't think it can be held. The best move here is bishop d4, and I'm ceding the bishop pair here. So knight takes, but rook takes. So there is some dynamic compensation for the ceding of the bishop pair. I'm still ahead in development here. So now b5. So that a6 move prepared this, and will now allow the bishop to develop to d7. However, I play the rook to d1, so I've got doubled rooks, and I'm hitting the bishop twice. So he plays bishop to c5, and he's kicking the rook here. I move it back to d3, but you will notice now that there is no bishop battery hitting h2, and it can't stop the move that I do intend to play with the knight, because after bishop b7 I now play knight e5. Now this knight is very powerful here. What you will notice is that the knight eyes the f7 square, also the d7 square, and also the c6 square. It stops any ideas, for example, with queen to c6 threatening a simplified mate on g2. Crude, but sometimes effective. And it's quite strange this, that because the bishop was taking so long to develop, the knight comes in and it's light square weaknesses in black's position, which are glaring. So black moves the rook along to challenge for the file. Now here I think just swapping off rooks simplifies the position. I think I have a much stronger move which wins a pawn by force, and that is rook d7. Now if the rook takes back and the queen is forced to move, and the f7 pawn will fall. You can't move the f7 pawn because bishop takes pawn check. So black does make the best move here, which stops that, but still loses a pawn. Now I take with the knight. I think perhaps though a stronger move would have been taken with the rook. For example, if we can actually find it. I think rook takes f7 was highly complex, and would possibly have been a better capture. However, I don't play that. I actually take with the knight. But definitely rook f7 means a highly complex position has developed with a whole number of threats, and it's a very finely balanced position with threats on both sides. But when is the pawn up? It'd be worthwhile putting it into your engines to see what the outcome would be. But I didn't play that. I played knight takes f7, which is still good. I mean, my analytical assessment puts me way ahead here, almost four to 5 pawns ahead. So then the rook takes, and then the rook takes. Still very good for white, and he plays bishop d5. Now, again, we didn't analyse in any depth, but after the game, we considered that possibly the best capture here was rook takes d5, an exchange sacrifice. Because if the pawn takes, the bishop takes, hitting the rook in the corner, and also threatening discover checks from the knight. So it's a possibility. Well worth looking at, I think. However, I didn't play that capture. If we go back, I played bishop takes d5, and then we had e takes d5, and then I played a horrendous blunder. I played queen f3. Now this loses by force. Can you see the crushing rejoinder that black now unleashes? I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Queen e6, and white is busted here because of the threat of queen e1 mate. Because I was completely obsessed with attacking the king, I'd forgotten about my own king's position, which I thought was secure. But it has no luft, and any move I make here drops a piece. Knight e5, for example, queen just takes, Any other move to stop the mate, queen just takes the rook and my piece down. I did fight on for a little while, but I had to succumb. So I hope you enjoyed the game. I think sometimes you can learn as much from dramatic losses as you can from victories. But I thought it was an interesting game, and it'd be well worth looking at for some of the tremendous complications that arose during the struggle. And we hope to produce more videos in the future. Bye.